بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Welcome to the third episode of the Marriage 101 guidelines on how to attain a suitable spouse. And in this segment, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to discuss ways to prepare for marriage. What do you have to do before marriage? Even, we'll say, before seeking marriage. What is it that you have to do as a brother? And what is it that you have to do as a sister before marriage? And so some of the points that I'm going to mention are going to apply to both brothers and both sisters. And then some of them are going to apply to the brothers more so, and likewise some will apply to the sisters. So without further ado, inshallah ta'ala, we'll get to the first point. The first point is deen-wise, with regards to your religion. Before you seek marriage, or if you are in the process of possibly getting married, you need to, as a Muslim, you have to strengthen your connection with your Creator. Enough with the games, enough with the basically whatever comes with a single life, and postponing and delaying and just going through life as if it's an enjoyment, a trip here and a party here and visiting this person here, and wasting your time away and wasting your life away. And that is, and for the one who's not wasting it away in sins, right? Now you wish to get married and start a family. What is required of you regarding your religion? Because that is the foundation of your marriage as a Muslim. What you will always go back to, right? For a sister, it does not benefit you to marry a brother who does not fear Allah and does not know his Lord. Likewise, for a brother, it does not benefit you when it comes to marriage to marry a sister that does not know her Creator and does not fear her Creator. A lot of people, when they go into marriage, have this notion that everything is just going to work out because we love one another. That's Hollywood. Sorry to break it to you, but that's Hollywood. We love one another and we spent time with one another and we went on a couple of dates and blah, blah, blah. None of that means anything. The only thing that benefits a woman is a husband that fears Allah. There are sisters who are worried about, oh, men cheat and how can I trust my husband? Does he fear Allah or not? A brother, oh, I don't know if she's going to violate me and one day take away my kids and this and that. Does she fear Allah? Right? Nothing will benefit you more. Nothing will benefit you more than someone who fears Allah, and that fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning even when your spouse is not there, you fear Allah with regards to their right over you as a husband and as a wife. That these rights and duties that we mentioned in the previous segments are not to be looked at as chores or as burdens. Rather, these are the things that, first of all, you're being rewarded for. And so when you look at it from the angle of marriage and as a Muslim, then you are doing those things pleasing your Creator, because that is what your Creator has obligated upon you. Now, when you marry someone who does not fear Allah, then anything is possible. Expect anything to happen, because love alone is not what marriages are supposed to be based on. Sometimes love disappears or diminishes or gets less than when you first get married. And that is natural. That happens. And it's the responsibility of both spouses to work on that and hopefully do whatever they can to increase it throughout their marriage. However, basing your entire outlook or how you see marriage only and solely on love, right? That's not realistic, and that shows that you lack experience when it comes to the reality of the dynamic of marriage, because a lot more comes into it than just love and emotions and those things. Obviously, it is an important factor. We're not dismissing it altogether. However, what will unite you both and keep you both happy and inshallah ta'ala keep you both fulfilling one another's rights is if you both fear Allah. And that starts with learning your deen. And that's the first point. When it comes to how do you prepare for marriage and when it comes to your religion, is that you first learn your religion. Learn your religion. You have to learn your religion for more than one reason. So you learn your rights and you learn also your duties as a spouse, and likewise so you can fulfill yani, the rights of your spouse, and also because you will be responsible for teaching your children who will be future spouses. And so this is how you yani, create a a society of righteous people, inshallah ta'ala. That you yourselves fear Allah and that you raise children that fear Allah, who will be the children or who will eventually become adults and also have their own children. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. When it comes to deen, one thing you have to realize also is that you have to be what you seek. If you yourself are not praying, if you yourself are indulging in sins, if you yourself are doing this and that, do not expect to find uh, the opposite of that. Or if you do not expect to, or you do not expect for that marriage to last, because those two will clash. And so you are what you seek, what you are and what you do, and the things that you are inclined to, that is who you will also seek. Otherwise, people will settle. One party will settle for the other, and all that will cause is problems in a marriage. And so, if you are looking for someone who fears Allah and with regards to your rights, and even when he's outside, is if it's a sister, even when he's outdoors, he lowers his gaze and he doesn't indulge in other relationships and blah blah blah. All of these things that the Western world has, yani, put all the yani, fear in women regarding these things, then you yourself have to be that as well. You yourself have to be someone who is strong in her deen and her connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is strong, and she prays her 5 daily prayers and she fasts in Ramadan and she attends whatever she can in terms of the masjid. If there's lectures or things like that or classes, she does that. Whatever she can do here and there to learn her religion, she does that, right? Increasing her knowledge in the deen, and acts of worship, etc. Then that is what is best. This also benefits your children. So when young girls, any daughters, when they see their mother in hijab, praying, fasting, reading Quran, listening to Quran, attending durus, listening to lectures at home if she's not able to attend them, the mother will be the first example for these daughters. And so if what becomes normalized in their minds is their mother indulging in all of this khair, inshallah ta'ala, in most cases, that is what their daughters will become. However, if the mother is half naked and she's listening to music and she's smoking and she's drinking and she's doing all of these things, what do you expect your daughters to be? What do you expect? Because a child at a young age is innocent. The first person they know is their parent. And especially when they're young, around 3, 4, 5 years old, the first yani school or the first example they take or the people that they trust to do good is their parents. So if they see their parents doing wrong, they will do wrong. They will do wrong thinking it's right because it's their parent. Because in their eyes at that age, how can their parent do wrong? And how can their parent, what their parent is doing, how can that ever be wrong? And so whatever you do at that age, more often than not, your children will mimic you and copy you. And so it benefits your children for you to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worshipping Allah, obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise for the husband, that you grow your beard, that you go to the masjid for the salawat, that you take your sons with you to the masjid, that you take your sons with you to mix with your friends who are also practicing. All of that is productive in causing that child to incline towards the deen of Allah and to love the deen of Allah. And that is what will benefit your children. Because children at that age, they learn more from action than they do from what you tell them. You can tell them all you want, don't do this and don't do that. When a child gets to a certain age, they'll say, but why did you do this? And why did you do that? Because they follow by example. So you have to be what you want your children to be. You have to stay away from what you want your children to stay away from. The second point is learning about marriage itself. So how do you prepare for marriage? By learning about marriage. And there are some courses at times that are offered that talk about Kitab al-Nikah. Usually, from what I've witnessed in the past, is that they teach Kitab al-Nikah, yani the chapter of Nikah in any particular book, and that will teach you yani the obligations of marriage and the marriage contract and what is the dowry and the rights of the husband and the rights of the wife and the duties of the wife and the duties of the husband and the rulings pertaining to marriage. That is what that will teach you. Usually that is what is taught in these courses. And at times you'll find people who do courses about the practical aspect of marriage. You know, how to have a harmonious marriage and the like. There are books that I would recommend anyone who is seeking marriage and wishes to learn about marriage. And it's the marriage series by Muhammad al-Jibali. Those colorful books, baby blue and pink and the like. There's, I believe, 4 volumes of it, each one talking about a different aspect of marriage. Those are, from what I know in the English language, the best marriage series and the most comprehensive. So I would advise those who are looking for that, looking for to increase their knowledge about marriage, to buy those books, to look online and to find those books by Muhammad al-Jibali, and it's the marriage series. Likewise, how you learn about Islam is by seeking advice from elders. Advice from elders, those who've been through it, those who've been married 20, 30, 40 years and have seen it all. They'll be able to give you guidance, also practical guidance, meaning when this happens, this is how you have to act. And when this happens, don't do this. And when your wife acts like this is what it means. Those who have gone through it can advise you. Likewise, brothers who may be older than you or even around the same age, la bas, they can also give you, based on their limited experience, they can also give you pointers as well for the one who is seeking marriage. Likewise, what I advise brothers to do, which is something that unfortunately and very sadly does not happen more often and is a big problem, and I mentioned that in the conclusion of this series, inshallah ta'ala, and that is brothers sitting with their fathers and talking to them about marriage. Brothers, go to your fathers and ask them about marriage and ask them for advice regarding marriage. Ask them to teach you about women. Ask them to teach you about the nature of women. Ask them to teach you about pregnancy and how women behave during pregnancy and how you should behave while your wife is pregnant and all of these different things. And sadly, that doesn't happen often enough. But I encourage brothers to speak to their fathers, because especially that is the one that will tell you and will be the most honest, and because he wants what's best for his son. He wants what's best for his son. Another aspect of preparing for marriage is health-wise, by working out, by being fit, by playing sports and the like to stay healthy and active, by eating healthily. And this is not only for the sake of appearing, attractive for the potential spouse or whatever the case is, but rather also for your offspring. Once you marry, the healthier you are, inshallah ta'ala, yani more often than not, your children will also be born healthy. And if you have some complications health wise and things like that, sometimes that affects your children. And so it is best to take care of that and take care of your body and your mind before you even get married. And this is not something that should be delayed until, like, once you get married, but rather this is something you should be working on now. If you're someone who aspires to get married or wishes to get married soon, this is what you should be working on now and focusing on right now. Financially, and this applies more to the brothers because they're the ones who are going to take on the financial burden of marriage, and that is their responsibility. And so there's no 50-50 when it comes to Islam, meaning there is no initial 50-50, meaning that the brother should go into marriage expecting that his wife is going to be paying 50-50. If that is their circumstance and he has a discussion with his potential spouse and his potential wife, and they come to an agreement that because of, for example, how much he makes or where they live and how high expenses are now, and there is, for example, inflation, and that there's no way that his salary will be able to take care of the both of them, and then when children come after that, it'll be even more difficult. If his wife agrees to also help out with the bills, then that is a favor from her part. However, what the point here is that men, yani brothers, should not be going into marriages thinking that his wife is supposed to be paying 50-50. Rather, that is something that you should discuss ahead of time. That if that is what you see and that is how you see, based on where you live and whatever the case is, that this is the only way the two of you can be married and live together and this and that is something you agree on, then alhamdulillah. However, it is not a duty of hers. That is what has to be noted and realized and acknowledged. Likewise, for brothers, it is incumbent upon them from now to think of ways to make money. Don't make the same mistake that a lot of brothers have made in the past, where they didn't really think of making money to the level of that they would need to sustain a family in the time that we're living in today. They focused more on marriage first, without really working on, for example, a business that would be good, or whatever the case is, or investing in something that would give them money. They didn't think of ways to earn an income, or even if they have a regular 9 to 5, but also a side hustle, or whatever the case is. Now a lot of brothers are thinking of that, but now they're in their 30s and 40s with children and divorce on the second marriage or third marriage, whatever the case is, and now they're thinking of these things. So for the brothers who are younger now you have people that you can learn and take a lesson from, that don't wait and settle for whatever minimum wage job that you're working, whatever. Strive beyond that. And obviously, your rizq is written for you, and it is something that Allah decreed. But the thing is, you put the asbab forward. You try and you put an effort and you make dua, and then you're content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for you and gives you. And so, however, you should be thinking now of planning bills and where you're going to live and how much is rent in that area or in that city, and how much do you need to have a family or take care of a family, and how much do babies cost, and what is it, what does it entail, especially if you have a child, having a car. This is stuff that you should be thinking of from now, and trying to make money to save towards that, so that you can make the burden of having to figure all of those things out later on much easier for yourself. Also, from the nature, brothers have to realize this, that the nature of women is that they respect and honor a man that is taking care of them completely. Meaning, you cannot expect the level of respect to remain the same in a time where you're taking care of all the finances and fulfilling all the rights of your wife. And we're talking here about a righteous woman and a wife that knows the rights of her husband. The nature of women is that they obey you when you fulfill these things. When you are a man fi'lan, meaning you are actually fulfilling her rights when it comes to these things. And she's living in your home where you're paying the bills and you're paying everything and taking care of her and all of these things. The chance of her obeying you and respecting you and honoring you and how she speaks with you and all of these things is higher. Whereas the situation where if she were the one working, right, and paying bills, etc., don't expect her to respect you and honor you in the same way. Not saying that it's still not obligatory upon her. Rather, it is, but that is the nature of women. And so my advice to brothers then is don't even put yourself in that situation. Don't ever put yourself in a situation, regardless of how righteous your wife is and how any understanding your wife is and whatever the case is, don't put her in a situation where those type of that type of attitude may come out. It is better for the household that the man is the one who is providing, etc., which is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated it. Obviously, there are exceptions and things happen, and of course, we're not talking about that, but we're talking about as an asl. As an asl, a man should not just nonchalantly allow his wife to be the provider and then expect that he's going to be respected as the authority in the household. That's kind of delusional. And even if your wife is righteous and religious, she may agree to it at first and in the beginning. But what happens is when certain which is the nature of marriage, arguments happen and disagreements happen, this plays a role. Meaning your authority as a husband comes with what you're providing. And yes, you have an authority and you are the man of the household, but when you're not actually fulfilling that role fully, then from the nature of women is that your respect or the respect that they have for you diminishes, and then you'll start seeing it in her behavior towards you. And so my advice then to brothers is to get your money up and stack your chips from now, so that you do not have to settle for a situation where your wife is going to be the one that is working, even if may Allah reward her, she helps you out and is patient and all of that. What will happen in the end usually is, because it's not their nature to be doing that, and the nature of a woman is that she wants to be home and in her home, comfortable, not in the hustle and bustle world of the workforce, and just staying at home raising her children and this and that. That's going to play a role in how upset she becomes in the marriage, etc. So in preparation for marriage, make sure you consider that. One of the most important things that are neglected when it comes to marriage and preparing yourself to marriage, or for marriage, is knowing yourself, actually sitting there with yourself and contemplating and reflecting on your personality, thinking about the type of person you are, thinking about the things that others say about you. Those who are close to you, your family members, your friends, your closest friends, what they say about your personality, what they sometimes in sittings or whatever the case is that they mention about you. Reflect and think about those things. Think about the things that you like and you dislike. Think about the type of friends you keep and what is it that you like about them, right? Think about the things you have in common with these friends. What is it that causes you to incline towards certain people and causes you to keep away and keep a distance from certain type of people? All of these things play a role also and have a big effect on who you choose as a spouse. Because if you do not know these things about yourself and you actually don't even consider it when seeking a spouse and when preparing for marriage, then the problem you're going to have is you're only going to look at the generalities of someone. Oh, does she have deen? Oh, does she pray? Or does she fast? Likewise for the sister. Or does he have a beard? Does he pray? Is he in the masjid? And is he religious? And that's it. That's just the surface. But what about the compatibility? What about outside of deen and outside of that, when the two of you are just in your home with one another? What is it that keeps your relationship together? What do you talk about with that person? Right? Do you laugh at the same things? Do you like the same things, the same foods? Do you like the same? Do you have the same hobbies? Whatever it is, do you have the same mentality? Do you have certain personality traits that are similar? Do you like certain traits in people? And likewise, your potential spouse also is the same. These things help in the in preserving a marriage. Meaning, the more you have in common with someone, the more likely your relationship will last. The more likely your relationship will last, because you will enjoy the company of this individual. Yes, there's emotional attachment. Yes, there's love. Yes, there's these things. But then when someone, for example, is like your best friend, then that is a different type of relationship. And usually those are the relationships that last forever. And so if you don't even know yourself, or don't even pay attention to these things regarding yourself in your any quest to find a spouse, then you will make a mistake. And you may marry someone that has nothing in common with you, is completely different from you in terms of personality. You may be a quiet person, they're a talkative person, or vice versa. Whatever the case, you don't like the same things, you don't like the same places, you don't like the same people, all of that, and you didn't consider that before marriage, or you didn't think it was something important. Rather, it is something very important, and it is something that you have to think about before you seek a potential spouse. And so, yes, ask, knowing if the person is religious and has their deen is intact, and if a brother is known to pray in the masjid, for example. All of these good things are good. However, him praying in the masjid, right? What does that do for you in terms of your daily practical life? That is how you have to see marriage, because marriage is beyond intact, and the bond between husband and wife growing. No. Likewise, when you think about these things about yourself, and you reflect about your personality and things you like and dislike, it'll also act as a mirror for you, meaning you'll start to see the flaws that you have, and you'll start to realize the things you need to work on before marriage. And that is how you prepare for marriage. If you have certain habits, if you have certain traits that people have complained about before, or people don't like about you, now is the time before marriage to work on those things, and to change those things about yourself for the sake of your marriage. Likewise, a very important point in preparation for marriage that a lot of people neglect is dua and istikhara. And dua meaning that you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you a righteous spouse, and that you have certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide you with a righteous spouse that will not harm you, and that will fulfill your rights and treat you kindly, etc. Whether you're a brother or a sister, that you constantly make dua for it. That you don't just sit there all the time and complain there are no sisters, and all these sisters are like this and like that, and all these brothers are like this and like that, and there's no brothers can you even trust, and blah blah blah. Do you sit and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you wake up in the third part of the night and beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a righteous husband? Oh sister, do you sit there, oh brother, in the third part of the night and beg Allah for a righteous sister? Do you? Nowadays, what's the point of even marriage? Do you only have a pessimistic outlook on marriage? And as we know from the hadith, that Allah, in hadith Qudsi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am to my servant as he thinks of me. As you think of Allah and what Allah can do for you. If all you are is pessimistic, and you only look at things negatively, and that you only see things from a negative side, then that is exactly how it'll be. That is exactly how it'll be. Either you will not get married and it'll be delayed, and you won't find someone, or you'll find someone who will make your life miserable. So what does it benefit you to be pessimistic and have this negative outlook and this gloomy outlook on marriage and everything? Rather be optimistic and have certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He will give you and provide you with a righteous spouse. That concludes the third segment and third episode in this Marriage 101 series, the guidelines for attaining a suitable spouse. In the next episode, inshallah ta'ala, we are going to be discussing and giving examples of something that inshallah ta'ala I believe a lot of the brothers and sisters are going to enjoy. And that is what questions to ask the potential spouse. And not only that, what are you looking for in their answer? That is the most important part. So you may ask questions, but what are you looking for with those questions that you ask? So stay tuned for the next episode, inshallah ta'ala. And inshallah we hope that it is highly beneficial. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.